I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and from the new Droid devices to the HTC One, you got some choice this back-to-school season in smartphones. Up today, the Motorola Droid Ultra, one of the 3 new Droid devices from the carrier. Can it compete with the Galaxy S4, the HTC One, the LG G2, and all of these other devices that are hitting right around the same time? We'll find out in part 1 of the full video review. The Motorola Droid Ultra is one of 3 new Droid devices that are available as of today at Verizon Wireless. The Droid Ultra slots right into the middle, the Droid Mini on this side, the Droid Max on this side. As you would expect, Mini's $99.99, this one's $199.99. The Droid Max is $299.99, but functionally very similar in a lot of different ways. The Droid Ultra here packs a 1.7 GHz dual-core Snapdragon S4 Pro CPU with Motorola's X8 architecture. It's got a 5-inch 720p HD display here. You've got an AMOLED display on this device, a 10 megapixel camera on the back with 1080p HD recording, Droid logo, Verizon logo on the back, 4G LTE capabilities as you can see up top, and then the usual Droid look and feel to this device. It's packing Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean with a relatively stock build at that. No real Motorola customizations to this device with the exception of some software stuff, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But the question a lot of people have, particularly those that are excited about the Moto X, how does this thing compare to the Moto X, and why in the world is Verizon releasing 3 new Droid devices when they're also getting the Moto X? We'll try to figure all of that out in the full video review. I'm going to step back for just a second and thank our boys in blue at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like the Droid Ultra for use in our One-Pawed Bandit free giveaway game at PhoneDog.com. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll make sure your email, contacts, your phone settings, your camera, and more are good to go. So when you walk out the door, you're working. You don't have to waste your time setting anything up. Thanks to Best Buy Mobile, you can get right in to the good stuff at Best Buy Mobile. So specs-wise, like I said, 2 GB of RAM here, 16 GB of internal storage, pretty cool microSD, or excuse me, no microSD card slot, pretty cool micro nano SIM card slot rather behind the volume rocker. I'm not going to pull it out because it'll deactivate the 4G LTE network, but all you have to do is come under the Verizon logo area here and under the volume rocker, slide this out, the volume rocker detaches, and the nano SIM card slot is right there. But from a hardware standpoint, very similar to other Droid devices we've seen in the past. Most recently, the Droid Razr line of devices. You've got your power button over here, you've got your volume rocker over on this side as well. Down at the bottom, micro USB charging port. Over on this side, nothing. 3.5mm headphone jack up top, and it's a very glossy device as well. The Droid Ultra has a little bit of a smaller battery all around. It's packing a 2,130 milliamp hour non-removable battery here, smaller than the Droid Max as you would expect, but again, the price point makes up for that. You've got a little bit of a hump here around the camera, 10 megapixel camera, like I said, with 1080p HD video recording. It's a very glossy device. So just from a hardware standpoint, an exterior standpoint, you can see how glossy this device is with my fingerprints all over it. What I will say though is out of all the devices I've been working with recently, the Moto X, Galaxy S4, HTC One, Optimus G Pro, Droid Ultra, all these different devices have come out. This is one of my favorite devices to hold in the hand. Now, glossiness aside, it just fits perfectly. I've always, or at least in the past couple of months, been a believer that 5 inches is a perfect sweet spot for a lot of people because it's not too big. It's not 5.5 or 6 or 6.44 inches like the Xperia Z Ultra. You can still get reasonable travel with this, but it's not a 4-inch display like the iPhone 5, so you still get a decent sized display for content consumption. So you watch those YouTube videos, you browse the web on a regular basis, perhaps you text message, you got a nice big screen to do that stuff, but then you don't have to worry about a 6.44-inch display device that's not going to fit in your pocket. That's what I like a lot. It's kind of a frustration for me as I work through the Moto X 30-day challenge because the display, for me at least, is just a smidgen on the small side. Over here you've got 5 inches, so much like the Galaxy S4, a near perfect display size I think for a lot of people. It fits really well in the hand, and you've got physical buttons down here, physical capacitive buttons that is, as opposed to on-screen buttons like the Moto X. So back here, home, recent applications, and actually in the settings you can configure this to be your menu button as well, as you see right there just by pressing and holding recent apps. Now like I said, a pretty stock build of Android 4.2.2 here, Google Now integration right there, and this has a lot of cool features out of the box that Motorola has added, so even though it looks like a stock build of Android, it's a little bit different. But design-wise, I really like this device a lot. Just looking at it from the exterior, the glossiness, kind of frustrating, but the overall feel in hand, it's one of the best devices I've felt personally all year long, just from a fit in the hand and overall usability when making a phone call. Another thing I like about it is Motorola's active notifications. As you can see right here, when you move the device, you see this right here, I can unlock it right here, and it only activates the pixels I need. So instead of turning the device on each time to see if I have notifications and looking up at the notification area, I can keep it off, I can shift it around, and when I get an email come in, for example, it'll light up, and I can access that email by swiping up in the case of the email or down in the case to unlock it, bypassing the lock screen or the traditional lock screen. Really a cool application there, but some other highlights. You've got the Verizon and Motorola pre-installed stuff here. Verizon, Amazon Kindle, Amazon MP3, App Store, but this is one of my favorites, Motorola's Assist application. You can see 3 things here that we do on a pretty regular basis if you're a grown person: driving, meeting, and sleeping. 3 of the most important things between work and between personal as far as I'm concerned. Driving is great. You know, I'm a big believer of it can wait. It really can wait, and I love to activate this when I'm on the road. And what it does is it works with the accelerometer to tell me when I'm driving, or to tell the phone rather when I'm driving, and I can have it talk to me, so read text messages and tell me who's calling, and resume the music play as well. So I can go in here and select more. Quick reply, I can say I'm driving and we'll get back with you soon, or I can opt not to reply and just reply to them when I get to my destination. But it works with the accelerometer and will kick you into that mode once it realizes that you're driving. Now, meetings down here as well, particularly useful when I update my calendar, which admittedly is not my strong suit, but when I do update it, I can come in here and say, hey, you know what? Keep my phone quiet while I'm busy, and I can activate that and customize it and say, you know what, silence it when, you know, for example, I have a meeting from 3 to 4 o'clock, except for when a favorite calls, maybe a family member, maybe my fiance, maybe somebody that's important in the organization, perhaps my boss. When someone calls twice within 5 minutes, also they can reach me. So you got some options here, and sleeping is a great one as well. Much like Do Not Disturb on the iPhone, I can set custom times and come down here and say, hey, keep my phone quiet while I sleep, unless those same parameters, or favorite calls, or someone calls twice. So a lot of different options here. Really like Motorola's Assist application, and you see a lot of Motorola touches throughout the device itself. You can see Android 4.2 running here, and it's a pretty regular build. I can I shouldn't say double tap, I can swipe down with 2 fingers and access those quick notifications, or I can swipe down with 1 finger and get my usual notifications bar and just flip it over that way. So settings here, everything you would expect, but you can see here active notifications, and I can turn this on and really customize this. So active display was turned on, as you saw just a second ago, where I'd get my emails or my text messages, and it would only activate the pixels needed to run that. I can manage the notification types as well. So I can say, you know what, Audible, don't need that in there. Calendar, yeah, I want that, that's important. Email, that's important. Gmail for my personal account, that's important. Let's say Google Plus, not really that important. Hangouts, sort of important. Maps, yeah, that's important. Messaging, etc. So when I turn it off and back on, and I get those notification types, it'll only light up if I get these types of notifications. So for example, a notification from Chrome won't light up that active notifications area. So you can customize that and make it your own. Touchless control, particularly useful here as well, and this is something we saw kind of highlighted on the Moto X, also on the Droid Ultra. So I can go through here and say next, 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 and you can really see the Google integration here. These are the first devices to come out with the Google support behind Motorola after they purchased the company, and you can really see Google's hand in this with the italicized text like next, and these little words like no, maybe, later, and yes, I'm in. Very Android-y, very stock Android-y. So I can record, okay Google now, it's way too loud. Let's try it. Shh. Okay Google now. Okay Google now. Okay Google now. Okay Google now. And then I can say something like okay Google now, and it'll activate just like that. So again, we see that feature on the Moto X. It's not really, they're highlighting it as a feature kind of centric to the Moto X, but you can do it on the Motorola Droid Ultra here as well. So that's there. Droid Zap as well, highlighted in the menu. We can go in here and share instantly. So much like S-Beam or a TiV Beam or Tap and Send on Windows Phone 8, I can come through here and select things to share. Droid Zap is turned on. All I have to do is swipe up, and I can show you exactly how it works by hitting right here. So swiping up with 2 fingers, and it'll share it. Swipe down with 2 fingers on the new device, and then I can share instantly. So yes, I'm in. We'll add the Heron Baker account. And again, you have a Droid device, swipe down, and you can access that. So obviously it works off NFC, very easy to use. And it's looking around right now. I don't have any Droid devices around here, so I'm going to go ahead and back out of that. But you can see here, again, some nice options, and just because it's running stock Android doesn't mean that it doesn't have some software goodies in the box that are kind of hidden. So again, stock Android, I've long been a fan of TouchWiz since 5 because of the value adds that it brings to the table. There are definitely some great value adds in here, even though it's kind of masked by that look and feel of stock Android, including some Moto Care tips as well. I can come in here and change these, see all my settings. It'll give me tips for charging, battery, and how to protect the phone, and more. So I kind of find that useful. But again, otherwise, pretty stock build of Android 4.2.2 here. Pick up in part 2, we'll talk more about Android 4.2. We'll do some speed tests, some camera tests, and we'll wrap out with the comparison of this device to the Moto X. So stay tuned right here on PhoneDog.com for part 2.